Welcome to the Twisted Tentacle Inn. I'm your innkeeper, Vase Odin, and today we'll be going over my deck for the coming Mateo campaign. For those of you who are not familiar, Father Mateo is a mystic who was released with the Forgotten Age cycle. He has a 4 in willpower, a 3 in both intellect and evade, and a 2 in combat. He's got a really cool special ability where if you pull a auto-fail token, you can turn it into an Elder Sign once per game. For solo, this is pretty fantastic. And if you pull the Elder Sign, you succeed automatically, and you either draw a card and gain a resource, or you get an extra turn, which is really awesome as well. His deck building is very limited. He pretty much right now can only take Mystic cards. He could take Blessed cards, but right now there's not that many, and especially not that many that he can use in solo play. So for right now, he's just a straight Mystic, so we have to build him that way. His signature card, the Codex of Ages, again, great for solo, not too good for multiplayer. It seals the Elder Sign token. Sealing means you pull it out of the bag so you can't draw it, and you place it on top of the card. And you can use it at any time for any one test to automatically succeed, basically. But while it's sealed on there, you get a +1 to your willpower. So it's a pretty cool item for solo. Terrible for multiplayer, but great for solo. So for my money package, I went ahead and included 2 copies of Emergency Cash. I don't put this card in a ton of decks anymore, but Mystics have really high cost cards, so we need different ways to be able to pay for them, that being one of them. I also use Father Mateo's 5 starting experience points, one of them for 1 copy of Sacrifice. This will be a little bit more versatile to either draw cards or gain resources. And then I also included 2 copies of Uncage the Soul. Not only is this card good to pay for spells at a reduced cost, but if you don't need to use it for that, you can still commit it for 2 willpower icons, which is really strong. Since Mateo's willpower is only a 4, it is very important that we give him a static stat boost to willpower. I opted for St. Hubert's Key because it also gives him a bonus to intellect, and it reduces his sanity, which I'm going to use for strategy for the cards later on, the skill cards. I also picked up 4 of Cups, which will give him a willpower, and if it's in my starting hand, it starts in play, which is pretty cool. I didn't choose the Holy Rosary because I think St. Hubert's Key is better for this deck that I'm building. Mateo will be using his intellect to investigate a lot of times, so St. Hubert's Key is going to help with that. We went with 1 ally, and it's going to be 2 copies of Olive McBride, probably Mateo's best ally right now. Not only does she give a 3 sanity soak, but her ability allows Mateo to draw the Elder Sign more consistently, which means it automatically succeeds. So if you draw an Elder Sign and draw a -6 token on a test, and a 3rd, is the auto-fail, you can choose the Elder Sign and the -6 and still succeed on a test where you were only 1 over. So it's really useful for him. For his investigation package, we went with 2 copies of Flashlight. I know that Mystics have a lot of ways to investigate, but I found that Mateo needs a lot of ways to defend himself as well, because his signature weakness is an enemy. So to investigate, we needed to use more slots than just the arcane slot. So the Flashlight is going to be helpful, and with St. Hubert's Key, that'll help a lot more. And then we went with Sixth Sense because it's a really good card, and even though it takes up an arcane slot, it will definitely be used when the Flashlight runs out of charges. For his combat package, we went with Shriveling as his main combat ability, 2 copies of that. And everyone knows that Mystics pretty much all take this card, so went with that. But we also used Father Mateo's 5 experience points, 3 of them to get 1 copy of Shards of the Void, another awesome combat card that I would prefer to have over Shriveling any day. So eventually I do want to get another copy in this deck. And then we also picked Wither. I'm not a huge fan of this card, but in an emergency or a pinch, it's definitely something I'd rather have than nothing. So just in case, we went ahead and put that in. And the last card in the combats package, I went with Miss Aurelia because sometimes you just want to evade an enemy, and this is an inexpensive card to have out, so definitely great in a pinch. I did put a few utility cards, including Sign Magic, because he's a pure mystic. Mateo's going to be using his arcane slots pretty frequently, so adding an extra arcane slot is definitely going to help him have more than just attack cards in there. For another utility card I chose was Find Clothes. There are a lot of parlay tests in the latest few campaigns, so I think this will be helpful in any deck, and I try to put it in every deck that I can. It's a really helpful card. I included a prevention package as well, which, again, I think most mystics should take. Both Deny Existence to avoid damage or discarding things. Very, very useful card. And another very similar card, Water Protection, is... Deny Existence is useful if enemies attack you. It's also useful for a variety of things. It's very versatile. Water Protection is great for, like, pulling... cards that you really cannot afford to see from the encounter deck. So both are very helpful, and I have 2 copies of each. And I did include 2 copies of Arcane Research. This is a permanent card that starts me off with 2 mental trauma, but it allows me to upgrade spells for a lesser experience cost. So I went for that, and because I start with the 2 mental trauma, I figured between that and St. Hubert's Key, the sanity value is going to be pretty low even early in the game. So I put some Desperate Skill cards. Desperate Search to help investigate, as well as Say Your Prayers to help with a lot of the spells and variety of things that mystics need willpower for. So we'll see how this deck plays out. I have really high hopes for it. When I test played it, it did very well. And despite Mateo being considered as a fairly weak mystic, he performed very well with this deck. So hopefully you enjoyed this video, and hopefully you watched the series of the playthroughs for Mateo and the Circle Undone. And I will be posting the first video up today, so keep an eye out for that. This is Innkeeper Vase Odin with the Twisted Tentacle Inn. Check in anytime. I'll talk to you then.